On the program, we talk in long form about professional wrestling. We talk about all facets of it. We talk about the travels, the matches, the training, and everything in between. And we cover many things. We've talked about, obviously, the wrestler's perspective. We've talked about the managerial perspective, creative. We've talked promoters. We've talked budgeting. We've talked all different types of things. But with the exception of my own lens, we don't talk often about broadcasting, about announcers, about voices, about presentation, about the booths, about the interviews. And I like to get the opinion, the experiences, and thoughts of my peers. And one of my peers who is rapidly climbing into a national platform, regardless of what you may or may not feel, is someone that I have with me on the program today, someone who is truly committed to their passion, to their journey, and to getting better. And I think, yes, I may say this of everyone on the program, but I really believe it when I do, is it's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's rather a matter of when. This is someone that I feel you'll see on television. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome backstage correspondent extraordinaire, amongst other talents, Samira. Samira, welcome to the program.
Man, oh my God, you're going to make me cry with that introduction.
No, that's not, stop it. It's not that serious.
It is to me.
No, it's come on. It's all true. Relax. You're good. You're going to be on TV and you're going to forget about me and you're going to get with some wrestler who's like 2 inches taller than me, but in shape. But listen, here's the thing. Let's add some clarity to, I say this about a lot of people, but it's very, very true, especially in the independents, until you get a network special, a DVD, a streaming, whatever it is. A lot of our journeys aren't known until we make it. And yeah, that happens with a lot of celebrities, but I feel like with wrestlers especially, it's like you don't know about them until everybody knows about them. And, versus people are like, oh, did you see that Damian Priest guy? And I'm like, I've known about him about 10 years before you, maybe more than that. How long have you been doing this now? Because I know that there was like some clarity with that, with how long have you been in wrestling?
So independence wise, since 2021, but I was doing like wrestling interviews for like websites in 2018. So I had been around for a bit. Like I stopped doing so much of it in like 2019, 2020 because I was trying to stay more focused on school. And then I knew if I really wanted to do independence, once I was getting done with college at the time, I was like, if I really want to try and really want to go for it and see it out, I want to try after school is over, because then I would have more time, because I was just so focused on let me get my degree done first and then let's try it out and see if it works out.
So how did you, because that's very interesting, because maybe one day I'll explain why I decided not to do wrestler interviews when I first got into independence and when I first had my first podcast. How did you get into that? Were you going to conventions? Were you part of a website? Did you team up with like a WrestleLink, a PW Insider? How did you do the wrestler interviews? Because they were at conventions, right?
Yeah. So originally I was doing YouTube videos like on my own, just about like wrestling and stuff. Like someday, like I really wanted to do more stuff with my YouTube channel and more with like wrestling. And this was my freshman year of college, I think it was. And at the time on Twitter, I was following a wrestling website. At the time, it was Wrestling News Co. And we had like talked about something before. And then the owner had suggested maybe that we could work together. I could be their interviewer. Like, let's see how things go. I did a trial run with them. They liked it enough to keep me on. And I was going to conventions. We had like a short thing in 2018. And then like we moved on. And I started doing stuff on my own for a little bit. Then I joined SC Scoops in 21.
That's where I saw you.
Yeah. I was with them for like till like around 22. I joined back with Wrestling News Co. for also a little bit during that time. And I just ultimately decided, I think around 21, that I really wanted to do like independent more. And and I'm so grateful for my time like doing like interviews for websites, and it was fun, don't get me wrong, but I realized this was more for me, that I really wanted to be on this other side and like that's enjoyable, but
Yeah.
it's a different, like it's such like a different type that I just felt like I didn't want to do as much anymore.
I can appreciate that answer because in short form, that's why I didn't interview wrestlers at conventions, because it's a great way to get content before, because I started in 2014. We weren't using that word yet the way we do now. It's a great way to get content, to develop a brand, to get specifically YouTube followers and stuff like that. But if it's not what you want to do, it really isn't fulfilling. And you know this because you're in the Northeast, even though you're PA. Ultimately, you're going to have to go to every convention to keep that up from a content standpoint, also. And you might not always interview wrestlers. Some of them are like busy, they have lines, and sometimes you might get an interview with, no disrespect, somebody that won't get you the views that, as opposed to somebody who will. So there's a catch-22 to that also. And if it's not fulfilling what you want to do, which was join the independents, then yeah, I can totally see that. The one thing I'm curious about is you were bouncing back and forth between the two sites. Was there exclusivity? And I'm not trying to like gossip or start a beef with that. Did you have to stay with one site and not the other? You couldn't do the both at the same time? That's the only thing that makes me wonder what you could and couldn't do in that respect.
So I did talk with them about that because at the time I believe I was just with SE Scoops, and then the owner of Wrestling News Co. and I got back in touch with each other, and we talked about that, and they were fine with both, but because like also SE kind of had their own team, there was more to just me, and I
Right.
did certain stuff for them. So at the time, MLW was running a lot here in Philadelphia after
Yeah.
COVID. So I was doing a lot with MLW with SC. So that just was like me with them. And then Wrestling News Co. was like more of like media scrums and stuff like that for them. And then I started doing online interviews for them more,
Right.
because like I said, I felt like primarily my stuff with SC was like a lot of MLW and like I think NWA at the time, or was that a Wrestling News Co? I can't remember, because I remember at a time I also did NWA with something, but I forget which one it was.
Oh,
And then
that I didn't know.
yeah, so then I did WrestleMania that year, and I split both of them, which certain, like I think majority of the stuff was Wrestling News Co. because SC also had their own team. I think the only thing I did for SC might have been MLW, and that was it. And
Right.
I mean, they were cool with each other. I think for the most part, some of them do get along, and both of them were very nice to me. And just at the end of the day, it was,
Right.
I think it was just time for all of us to then part ways. And I wanted something different, and they, you know, it's not like I'm not cool with them now. I mean, I don't talk with them as often, but I know that they still kind of, they do support me, and they're
Yeah. Yeah.
happy with what I'm doing now, and
Yeah.
I'm
It
happy to them. I believe they're still doing well, and you know that's all I could ask for. There's no, you know, animosity or anything.
right. It's like any work relationship, right? It's like you don't work there anymore, but that doesn't mean you want the building to burn down, right? Like you bump into your boss in the street and it's, hey, how are you? What are you up to now? And you don't even know where that could lead to. So that's a great point too in that respect. So let's go a little further now. You make the decision of, I want to join the independents. Is it specifically the independents? Did you, or were you like, I want to be on TV? What was your ethos? Because I know, and there's nothing wrong with this, some people are going to be like, oh, what do you mean? You didn't formally join a wrestling school. You just hit up promotions, promoters, whatever. So what's that part of your journey like now that you're like, this is cool? It may even get me a following, but it's not what I want to do. What's the traversion there?
So when I decided I wanted to do independence, I had been thinking about it for a bit, and like I said, I was getting closer to graduating, and I had this like thing in my head. I'm like, you know what? I, as much as I enjoy doing all this, sitting doing interviews here from like right here in my room or going out, I'm like, you know what, I want to be involved. I don't want to be a wrestler, but I want to be involved. And I've known for a long time that I didn't want to wrestle because I can't take all the physical stuff that they do. Like I just can't put my body through
You
that. I have
being you
hella
being realistic with yourself and your body,
yeah.
okay?
So it was around the end of April, and I was graduating in May. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, so my degree, I graduated with communications within broadcasting and public relations. So I did a double concentration. Still graduated on time. Don't know how I did that, but I
That's
remember
awesome.
the broadcasting part was a huge thing for me because I knew I wanted to make that part work in wrestling in some way, and that was my whole mindset. So I had hit up Sam Laterna, and I
Oh
was
yeah.
hey, I was like, listen, I've been thinking for a bit now that I really wanted to do maybe like ring announcing or backstage interviewing because I had thought in my head I'm doing like so much here in interview, even though it's like, oh, you're asking them questions about maybe their lives or in character. And I was like, you know what, maybe it will translate well that for backstage correspondent in the wrestling world. Like I really want to try do that instead.
Mhm.
So I had asked her for her advice. I think I had said to her at the time I wanted to be a ring announcer, and I sent her like some how I sounded at the time of and she gave me feedback, and then she put me in touch with Camp Leapfrog at the time where she thought I would be a good fit. It was close to my area where they would film, and she
Okay.
thought I'd be a good fit. And then she put me in contact with them, and we talked, and from there I joined them, and they like brought me on, and oh my god, I always think about my first interviews with them, and like it was my
Oh
first
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Like
I get
I
the same way
always
when I think about my
like,
old
oh
stuff. Oh
my
yeah.
god. I was like, it was so if I could just shake that girl, because I would know, like it's like you look back at yourself and you're like, no, like do this, do that. But I was like, oh my
Oh
god,
yeah. I didn't watch my
God.
stuff for like the first 3 years, so I get it.
It was a miracle that they like continued to bring me back. But I'm like, they must have saw something in me, and but it for them bringing me back just helped me grow and helped me learn, because then I look back at that stuff like I'm still to this day I look back at all my work that I do, and I'm like, okay, what could I have done better? Because I look at that stuff and I see it now and I'm like, oh my god, she should have done this, she should have done that, like what are you doing? But I
Yeah.
understand it's just me starting out, and they probably something in me, and I had to grow and I had to learn. I had to get advice from other people and feedback in order to continue to be the best version of myself I can be. And I'm always still learning, even
Right.
now.
Right. I think that's another thing that I'll be very, very transparent. A lot of our peers, I feel like they hit a point where they feel like they mastered this. I think you and I, there's a few others that are in that same. You never stop learning, especially in wrestling. It's very much like life. You know, you don't have the answers. Nobody ever does. It's kind of more so they have more experiences, even if they're negative. There's a lesson to be learned in that, and yeah, I can totally relate to that because I watch a lot of my early stuff, and I now that I have the courage to watch it, and I'm like, no, this ain't it, brother. This this ain't it. You might have been good and passable and better than those around you, but this ain't it, man. So I get it. I could totally and shout out to Sam Laterna for helping you out because I Sam's been making some great strides in the last 2 years. I've never met her, but I've seen her success grow. I think she's still in the tri-state area. So yeah, so that's really cool that she was able, somebody who in our consideration was established, to go ahead and help you hit through the proper channels and stuff like that. So you start off ring announcing,
I did backstage correspondence. So I think like at the time, and I'm like, because
but ring announcing was what you wanted.
yeah, I was like, you know
Okay.
what, maybe that would be pretty cool. And
Sure.
but then they had me as a backstage correspondent there. So I just stuck with that for like a while. Like I would say I did that for like a year and a half before I then started to then actually bring it out.
Yeah. Now, when you're doing the backstage correspondence, did you have anybody now at the actual promotion giving you any direction, or did you just have that carte blanche of these are the guys I need you, guys and gals, excuse me, the people that I need you to interview, just get them, make sure they're done? Did you have, were you getting advice? Was it on the job training, or was it kind of the Wild West, you think, looking back?
So it was like I don't know if you would call him if he was technically a producer. His name was Francis. I don't know if he still works in the business. I haven't seen him in a hot second, but he helped with Leapfrog. And every single show, they had like a detailed list of who they wanted for interviews and
Right.
specifically what they wanted, which was obviously perfect. And then I've learned over time that, I ended up bringing like my own equipment. Some places have it, some places don't, but I always make sure I have my own equipment. And good thing I did at the time. But shout out to ABJ who had lighting for me that very first time, because we were like the first time I ever did anything with them. We filmed off well into the night, and I had no lighting equipment at the time, and he's helped me. But yeah, the team would already have everything written out for the show if we did like a pre-taped show before we started doing audiences again, and they always, no matter what, had a set list for me, which is really cool. They'd go back obviously and watch it, and they would tell me I'm doing good, and but I knew I needed to critique myself, because sometimes like they'll tell you you're doing good, but if you're not, like, I feel like sometimes an actual broadcaster to know these things, you
Yeah.
so I'd have to go back and really like look at myself, and it's always hard because I feel like you hate listening to yourself, you hate like,
Uh-huh.
it's necessary no matter like how much you hate hearing your own voice or something, and you cringe at certain
Yeah.
things. You have to do it to self-critique, and if not, reach out to other people, like other broadcasters, and ask for help. Hey, what am I doing wrong here? What could I be doing better? And that's exactly what I did, because I was like, okay, like I I don't know if I'm actually doing well. Maybe I was. I mean, I was being brought back,
Right,
but
but your own assurance is different than that of your peers and the promoter or
yeah,
whatever. You want to make sure you're hitting that home run.
yeah. So it's important, I would say, as a broadcaster, to reach out to other broadcasters to get some help.
Yes.
And I would like to, I think, to say that every broadcaster I've like met in the 3 years that I've been doing this, or even beforehand, like I said, I knew Sam before I even was in Independence, but they've been just so helpful, and we're
Right.
just such a good, like, close knit community that we're all just trying to help each other out, and like so supportive, and I absolutely love that. That just like
Yeah.
means the absolute world to me, and I'm happy to like say that I can like help other people, like that people have come to me, and like that just means the world to me that I get to see that. And people, like, I've had like some now girls starting out in the business, they're like, they tell me they look up to me, and I'm just like, what? But it
Yeah.
does, it's the world to me, that knowing that we can all just like stick together in that sense.
It's funny you say that because I'm going to touch on a couple things when I started, and I don't mean this. It's going to sound like a very salty statement, but it isn't. I didn't have any of that. I didn't have any help, any support. I only had my guys at Ace, Classic Mikey D and John Harder. They were the broadcast team guys when I came in, and of course Mike Jr., the head producer. Those were my support systems. When I started trying to do other bookings in New York and other parts of New Jersey, I didn't have any of that. I didn't have any of that help. It was, oh, this guy's trying to come in type of thing. It was almost a grizzled wrestler's mentality at the broadcast booth. I didn't have any of that stuff. So I like hearing when you or anybody or Michael Putty or anybody new coming into the business gets that, because that's how it should be. There was another gentleman, I'm friends with him. His name just came to me now. His name's Jacob. He wanted to get into wrestling, and when I couldn't do shows at ECPW, he would fill in for me, and I would give him tips and ask him advice. And then he is deciding that he wanted to go to college, and now he's up in New Jersey, and he's almost getting his degree in broadcasting. He's already dabbled with sports radio, and he's doing all these intensives, and he's doing excellent, and he's really investing in himself. But the point of the story is, I didn't say, nah, kid, you're not for nothing. You shouldn't do this, and go to school and become an engineer, an architect. No, man, if this is what you want to do that. And it should be respected and treated well. So I like hearing that you were well taken care of coming into the business, because I didn't get that. And that's why I feel that I try to do that with everybody. Even if you're like not the best person, but you're talented, I'll still go and because I've had some people where they're really, really talented, but they're jerks. But I'll still try to help them out. Yeah, because I remember. Here's a story. This is right before the pandemic. I did a show in Queens, and I did a show in Queens, and I got hired to ring announce. And they wanted me to ring announce, and then they hired these two kids because they were younger than me, but these two guys to do commentary. And they were like, hey, could you coach them? We want them to be the commentators. We want them to be our voice, our identity, our brand, but could you coach them because you have more experience? Not a problem. And they had a podcast at the time or something like that, but no indie experience, which is fine. And they were doing their notes and what have you and this and that. One guy was really serious, really applicable, was really trying to like prep and whatever. The other guy was just kind of like, don't worry, we'll do it when we're out there type of mentality for his first show. And I'm a prep guy. Like I think that I prep enough. I don't like to over prep because ultimately you got to speak in sound bites. You're not going to get everything in. If you make 15 notes about one wrestler, you'll be lucky if you get 6 in. So, excuse me, I just burped on the show, but I hope it translates well in your AirPods or whatever the hell you're listening to. So I'm hearing these notes, and the nicer gentleman asked me, what do you think? And I was like, well, try. The guy, oh my God, I didn't think of that. Thank you so much. The other guy's like, well, what? Okay. So this goes on 3 or 4 times, and I walk off, I get summoned or whatever, but I'm like 5 steps away. They think I walk away. And the other gentleman comes and goes, hey man, you don't have to listen to this guy. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't been anywhere. He doesn't know his shit. If he knew as much shit as he acts like, he would have been on TV already. It's a true story. He's like, if he knows as much as he's saying, why isn't he anywhere? And right when that guy walks away, because I'm cerebral, right when that guy walks away, I turn around, I come and go, hey man, listen, I hope I'm not being XYZ. I just want you guys to succeed. But you know what? Your partner's right. I don't know nothing. You guys do it your way, and hear it after the fact. No, I'm so sorry. I was like, no, listen, I just want you to know, blah, 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 blah. The moral of the story is, on top of the show never being seen, the commentary was also taken off from the 2 matches that were available. That really, if you can find them, I'll be more impressed that they exist now, because they existed for about 2 weeks. Yeah. So shit like that happens. It's just people in general. And these guys were newbies, and they were just had this, well, this gentleman had that type of mentality. So that's why I try my best to welcome people and be as welcoming as I can be. Yeah, that's but that's free therapy. But listen, when do you start getting out of Pennsylvania and it's like, oh, I want to try this, I want to try that? Because I feel like, I'm assuming rather, you come to Jersey, you do XYZ feds, and then the likes of like AJ, P. Rosado, Joe Kim, whomever, those guys are like, oh, who's that girl over there? Because at the time, and I talked about this with someone else on the program, when I started for backstage announcing, this is not, no disrespect to anybody, it was just me and David Adams. That was it 10 years ago. And then David transitioned to ring announcing. By the time he transitioned to that, it was literally just me until you came along, because it was you, Sam, but Sam like was in Hog and then almost immediately felt like she was in TV, it felt like. So it took a couple years for there to be other people that did it in the tri-state area. So is it because you crossed the river or crossed the pike or whatever the hell it is from PA to New Jersey, and through networking, all the other guys seeing you, that you end up at a lot of different feds?
So it was like, so I was at Camp Leapfrog. So that obviously was PA. And
Right.
for a while we were recording the show in PA at someone's house. They had this big backyard and the whole production setup. It was huge. Like if you've seen the old episodes, like you've seen it. So for a while we were there. And then when we started doing live shows, they were out of Williamstown, out of the H2O Wrestling Center. So yeah, so we were there for a bit. And I wasn't getting, at the time, this was end of 2021, like around there, I wasn't getting picked up anywhere else. I then started I started working with Boca Raton Championship Wrestling when they launched in May of 22. And how I got there was because I had met them in Dallas and we became friends and they decided to bring me
When you
on.
say Dallas, you mean Mania weekend?
Yes. So I was there. That was when I was still at the time still with also the wrestling websites. And so that's how I met them and ended up in there. But I still just wasn't moving anywhere within here. And I can't remember. I believe like I reached out to people. I did try there was talks between me and a wrestling company in New York and they just never ended up working out. Like even to this day, we tried I think at some point last year to do something, still hasn't worked out to this day, like going on
Oh,
for
wow.
it's really, really funny, but like I'm not mad about it. I just think it's a very funny story
Oh,
about
no, that happens. That totally
yeah.
happens.
So I around that time wanted to quit. And I just was like, I don't think I'm good at this.
And this is what, about your 3 or 4 year mark now?
No, this what right here now?
Well, no, when you're saying that you want to quit.
No, this was about the year mark.
Okay,
And
about the year mark.
I was like, all right, I don't think this is working out. I'm only getting booked out at like 2 companies. I've reached out to companies. I don't think I'm good at this. Like, I think what I'm going to do is finish up my bookings through the end of the year and be done. And at the time, I didn't have like a lot. So I was like, I was very upset. And I didn't want to go to SummerSlam because I was going for like stuff. And my friends are like, you better get on this plane. You're going to have a great time and you're going to realize why you still do this.
Right.
Got on the plane, went, I had the best time. And I realized why I still did this and how much I loved it. And that I couldn't just give up. I had to work so hard to do this, that I had to work harder and I can't let this bring me down. And I constantly compared to myself to other people in the business. And that's part of it. And
which is the best and worst thing when you're comparing yourself to others in and out of wrestling.
Yes.
But
and
in wrestling, it's forget it.
And you have to realize you're on your own path. You're on your own journey. Everybody's journey is different. Like just because somebody else is getting an opportunity, you shouldn't question why yourself, like you didn't get a certain opportunity or this or that. Like everybody's on their own journey. And I had to realize that. So after the fact of that, somehow I don't remember. I always say I have to ask the promoter because I never knew how they knew about me. So they hit me up for Goddesses, which was Titan's women's promotion. They were gonna carry back up in February of 23, and they reached out to me saying like they'd love to have me for correspondence work, of course. So and then because of that, Titan reached out and said, hey, since you're going to be working with our female promotion, we would love to have you come in, test trial. Let's try it out and we'll see if we'll have you with the whole enterprise. I was like, okay. So then I started working them September of 22, and I've been with them ever since. They kept me on. And from there, that's how everything snowballed, because in there I met AJ. And I know AJ helped ran BCW. AJ liked me. Anthony Cole then knew about me. They brought me into BCW. That's how I got there. And then from there, who else was at Titan that worked? Steve Off. What does Steve Off do? Steve Off runs Pro Wrestling Magic. And he doesn't know, and I think he's probably going to find out from this. When I was starting out independence, if there were 2 big companies that I really wanted to work for on the indies, like that were like big, that I considered big, which was Pro Wrestling Magic and Invictus.
Okay.
And when Steve asked me to come in, I was like over the moon because like I knew about Pro Wrestling Magic. Of course,
of course.
So that led to Pro Wrestling Magic, and then when Alex Aceta came in for commentary and things fell through with their correspondent, went to Invictus. So like it's all about networking and being there, because they're you never know where somebody is, and then they'll hook you up.
So, fun fact, I actually know exactly what show you're talking about, and I was almost there.
It's insane. It's insane how it all then. So once like that happened, and then I remember just 2023 being so busy, and that's exactly what I wanted. I remember like thinking how upset I was in 22 and how I prayed and wanted what I wanted in 2023, which was booked like legit almost every single weekend. I was working. I had a packed schedule, and it just like it just happened and I got better. And I'm still like, obviously, like I said, I'm getting better, I'm learning, but like how it all happened from me being upset, like those 3 months prior to where then how everything snowballed just in that quick amount of time in those last months of 22 to remind me like this is what happens.
Right. Now, that's crazy because you ultimately get everything you want served to you. It happens all in one shot, but you faced it very, very well. So you're at these places and almost immediately you end up turning one booking into like 4 or 5, right? Did that also, because now it's like, I'm thinking of quitting. No, I'm going to go do this. Now it's like, oh, I can do this and I have the opportunities to do so. With that being said, do you think if you would have quit, you would have eventually came back, or you would have been like, nah, I'm done. I'm not even doing the interviews for sites?
I don't know. I don't know if I would have still done interviews for sites, maybe for myself on like the side and just, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I would have done if I would have walked away. But like I still think like even if I would have decided that I was done and finished up, and still that opportunity would have came to me. And I think then I would have changed my mind about like, okay, if I got booked here and now I'm working for here, and then those two other opportunities just came in at that same time, I would have been like, okay, like I think, you know, I got a good thing going. Like a lot of companies want to work with me at this moment in time, so I think maybe I shouldn't leave. So I think it would have really, either way, would have changed at the end of the day. But I don't
Got
know. I would hate to think about if what like if in that moment I just would have canceled everything. What would have been? And I'm so glad that never ended up happening.
right.
I'm like where I am now, and I didn't even think I would get where I am now, honestly.
And speaking of which, here's the rewarding factor. You're booked usually every Mania weekend since, right? Uh,
Not the last one.
no, but still, that's more than others, right? It's true. Like you get that. Mania weekend's a big deal for us. You're happy to be on any show, even if it's just one. All right. You get to go to these places. You get flown out for a fair amount of shows. Not necessarily fulfilled, but how do you feel now with all that you're able to achieve and do and execute?
I definitely feel like I'm in such a better place than what my mindset was 2 years ago. I think it's like, you know, knowing that I need to work so much harder and get better and learn and know like everything takes time. And I think that's
Right.
because especially like as young as I was like 22, 23 at the time. And oh my god, that feels so weird to say that. But like I needed to learn patience. Like everything
Yeah.
time, and like you can't rush things. Like it's gonna just come at its own time and its own pace, and you just gotta learn and grow from it and just enjoy what you have in the moment. And I like so appreciative of what I have now. I'm like blessed for everything that I have because I work with so many places now. I travel. I'm with a lot of friends. I'm doing what I love. I love professional wrestling. I love that I get to see this. I get to experience it, and I get to just go wherever. And like, especially the stuff that's happened in the past, like what 6 months, like working with Black Label Pro, like some stuff that I never thought I'd do, like matches that I never thought I'd call, or people that I've never thought I would ever ring announce in my life. Like I'm getting to do these things, and it's just surreal. And I still get the feeling like I don't like, not that I don't deserve it, but I always get like I shouldn't be doing this. Like who am I to like be doing this? And then I'm just like, I'm here for a reason,
Right.
and it's pretty like it's pretty fucking cool. I gotta say that. I'm gonna drop an F bomb, and I never really swear, but it's pretty fucking cool that this is like I get to do these things. But I'm really grateful and I'm really blessed for all of them, and I'm glad I have such a great support system around me of all my friends that believe in me and all these people that just like love to see the journey of it, and it just it's just insane. Like it's just, and doesn't, it still never like really like truly hits me. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. No, I mean, so you brought it up, the Black Label Pro. How does that come together? Because you just came off the wrestling combine. You were around a stellar array of talent. You were stellar in your introduction performances. We have to talk about that experience. So chat me up, as they say.
About the combine or about how I started with them? Or
Both,
okay.
please.
So Black Label, I started with them in November of 23. So at the time, man, what was I doing? I think I just came. I don't know if I just came out of Florida show or it was some booking. I remember I had a long weekend, and I'm sitting at home. I'm having dinner with my family, and I get tagged in a post that Black Label had been looking for a ring announcer for that Saturday, and a friend had tagged me. I believe it was Sean Rossap, saying like, I believe Samira is available, and the promoter had tweeted it, and I was like,
I forget that you're friends with Sean Ross Sapp. You're a real power broker. I forget that.
Nah, he's a good dude. He's very nice. So he, I guess, thought I would be great for it and tagged me in it, and I commented back, and I didn't know if I was going to hear from the promoter, and he did. He had DM'd me, like saying that he had then obviously viewed my stuff and asked if I had a way to get there, like can I make it work? As soon as I got home, I did that. I like looked into it. I was like, this is a big opportunity. I knew who Black
Yeah.
Label was, and I really wanted to make this work. I was like, I have to go. Like, I have to do this. And this was like my first weekend off. Like, this was a first weekend off I had in like weeks. And I was like, I have to go do this. Like,
Oh yeah.
I have to make this work. Like, I don't care that I don't get like a rest weekend. Like, I need to go. And funny enough, this was the first weekend or the first time I was going to be ring announcing since my surgery, which you know about, but I don't, your viewers won't know this. I got my tonsils removed,
Right.
my adenoids removed, and I slipped down my turbinates. This was going to be the first time I was ringing. Since then, my voice had completely changed. Like I sound less nasally and stuff. So this was also a huge thing. I didn't know how I was going to sound, and I was like, oh my god. So I made it work. I got this stuff done. I was like, I'm going. Like, I got to make this happen. So I was so nervous. I will be like, and I think I've said that, and I'm gonna be so like open about this. I was fucking nervous. I knew
Right.
of an opportunity this was. This was live on Fight. Like this, I've never when I was doing at this point in my career at November 2023. I was not doing live ring announcing. Like none of the shows I was ever doing was live. They were all like we had a live audience, but the show was never live itself. And I was like, okay, this is huge. This is live on Fight. I have like I'm ringing out like some names that I've always wanted to kind of work with already at this time, and like this is a huge opportunity. And I was like, I can't fuck this shit up. Like I need to do my best, and I was fucking nervous. I was like, oh my god, I got to do this. Like I got to do this. I got to because like I knew a lot of people were going to be watching,
Yeah.
and I was like, I have to do this right. And I would like practice at home and like I just remember that day I was just scared as shit. And I had met this girl, like these guys, some of these wrestlers had picked me up, and the girl was just so nice to me, and she was helping me, and she's like, listen, you're gonna do great. Like you'll see it, you're gonna do so well. And just like once you get there, you're gonna be fine. And I remember I walked through the curtain and I got in the ring. And as soon as I started talking, I felt fine. And then, but I was still like, obviously, still nervous. And then, but as the show went on, I got like more comfortable.
Right.
And by the end of it, I felt pretty good. And I was like, okay, hopefully I did a good job. I definitely feel better about everything. I was so excited to be there. And at the end of the show, that's when the promoter came up to me. He's like, yeah, we'll definitely be working with you again. Thank you so much for coming here. And I was like over the moon, and I was getting texts from friends because like because I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody that I was going. Like I told close friends, but I did not let social media or anybody know that I was re-announcing this show. So when I posted it
And it's kind of better that way too.
yeah, so when I posted it when we went live, and I was getting text messages and stuff like that. And I was like, it was so like, they're like, oh my God. And I just wanted to cry. And I knew like, it was just like, it was so insane. And then I just remember waking up the next morning, going to my flight and thinking like, I can't believe this happened. And from there, I started working with them permanently. I didn't work their December show. Somebody else was hired at the time previously.
Okay.
So I then started working with them, and I've gotten to call some like many people that I never thought I would ever get to like give them a ring introduction in my life. And
Right.
one of them being Matt Cardona versus Nick Nemeth. Obviously, I watched them on TV when I was a kid, and like and that started the show. And I remember like, okay, first of all, I'm opening the show. The show itself is big, but I watch it, and they're opening the show. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Right.
I was so fucking nervous then too. That was very nerve wracking. But once like I'm always nervous before I ring announce, but as soon as I'm in the ring and I start talking, I'm good. But then the combine came, and I knew how big of a show that was too. And I was like, this is probably the biggest show I'm about to call.
And it's all top tier talent.
And I was like, oh my God, like, I do not deserve to be on the show with these people. Like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? And I absolutely love Mikey and Mojo and Steven, who do run Black Label. And they've just always been so nice to me, and they believe in me so much, and they support me. And oh my God, the love that I got from them and like people at the show, I was just like, I'm still blown away by it because, and even getting to do that show was just insane. And the ring setup and everybody was so nice. Like everyone that you saw that was on that show was incredibly nice. They were really nice, like introducing
That's
them.
great.
And it was just a surreal feeling. Like, and like I took off of work, my shoot job. And I'm like, I'm like, of course I'm going to go. And like, so getting to do that and just being there, it's just like I don't know, like it's surreal. I always say it's surreal, like I don't have any words to describe like that feeling of getting to do these things, and then you just look back on it like, I did that.
Right.
It's insane, but I'm very grateful that I get to do all this stuff and that they believe in me so much and that they love my work, and I love getting to work with them. They're all just such great people at Black Label. Mikey, Jess, all of them, they're just amazing, and I'm like so grateful that they continue to work with me.
So not that you can't do both, because it's the indies, like you could literally do every position if you strategize it right. Do you find yourself torn now between the backstage and the ring announcing?
I recently said this to someone where of course, backstage interviewing was that number one thing for me.
Right.
Everyone knew me for that, and that was like my love in a sense. And I still love it, but I grew to love ring announcing so much more once I started doing so much more of it. It's like now I'm getting more ring announcing bookings instead of interviews sometimes, and that's completely fine. I'm totally fine with that. But
Do you think it's a product of the environment, in the sense of you've grown to love it because with the ring announcing, ring, live mic, live crowd, reaction, backstage, closed space, post production, 100 tries, if need be. That not that it ever is, but do you think the two elements being so different is why you're growing to love one just as much as the other?
I don't know. I think it's just because I'm doing so much more of it that I'm growing to love it more.
Okay.
That's the reason why. And I don't obviously love interviews. I'm always going to love doing backstage.
Oh yeah.
But it's just, I don't know what it was about the ring announcing, maybe because it's just, I'm doing so much more of it and I'm finding my voice and my style and getting so comfortable with everything that I'm just like, I really like this more. And it's also cool because, like, as you know, sometimes we don't get to see the matches, and it's nice to finally like actually see it. And you're there and not worrying like in the back, like you're just trying to get everything done. But also in the back, you get to hang out with your friends when you're not working, because they're in the match. Like most of our stuff is, like you said, post production. It's all post match stuff, so you can't get anybody unless they're done and after they talk over their match. So it's nice, you get to hang out with your friends, and then if you're lucky they have a TV in the back somewhere, or you can catch a glimpse of the show, like you can sit and watch a little bit and then go do your job once they're done. And I don't know, but I found myself loving ring announcing more
Okay.
lately, but I still have love for both.
I can respect the transparency. I love that. I love that there's love for both. We're now going to go into a little bit of the rapid fire here, as we like to know. Preferred coffee order.
Okay. So usually during the week, I liked, or all the time, and as I'm literally drinking it now, I get a cold brew with, depending on the size I get, but a certain amount of pumps of sugar-free vanilla in my cold brew.
Sugar-free vanilla.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Why sugar-free?
Gym and stuff. I make sure to stay on my routine. So
Yeah.
I try to watch the sugar intake.
Okay. Okay. I can respect that. Favorite dish of your heritage?
I'm going basic on this one. I love me good chicken shawarma. It is the best. It's basic, but I love it.
Okay. Okay. Longest drive you've ever done for wrestling?
I think when Smashmaster did our thing in Chickasha, PA, that was like about over 2 hours, I think. It was in the middle of somewhere in PA. I'm not from the middle of PA, so driving to that part of middle PA, I'm like, where am I? I think that was the longest. I usually don't tend to drive too far. So that
Okay.
was like 2 hours, yeah.
Okay. 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 Worst drive you ever did for wrestling? That you can say, because it looks like you know it, but you're trying to be nice about it.
I'm trying to think which one it would be.
Well, yeah, that's a real answer.
It's either that one heading there because I had to leave. I forget what time I had to leave. It was early in the morning, and then like getting there. The show was fun itself. It was great.
Uh-huh.
The drive, I was just like going was a lot. It's either that one or this one that I had to go to in Jersey, and it was also a weekday show, and I had to go through. Usually I would have to go down through Philadelphia to go out into Jersey to go through there, but I had to go through Jersey instead because if I went through Philly, there would be so much traffic. But I'm like going through like how it took me was from highway to actual like roads, like streets and like homes and shit, then back on the highway. And I'm like, where am I? I was like, I just want to get there. Come on.
Right.
But better than
Okay.
Philadelphia traffic. So it mix of stuff.
If I'm not driving, this person is driving.
Or driving up when I have to do Invictus sometimes in the Bronx. Like, okay, I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
New York drivers, okay, and that is not an experience. Like driving out is fine, but driving in was not. I was just like, oh my god, I can't
Yeah.
handle.
You Pennsylvania, New York folk get traumatized by us New York drivers.
It.
Favorite person to let drive if you're not going to drive?
For wrestling.
Yeah.
So typically, I usually drive by myself, but if I like, sometimes if like we're all together, we stay overnight or something, and we drive together. I would say Serenity. Serenity drove the one time, so shout
Okay.
out.
Favorite ring announcement so far?
Oh my god, that's actually a hard one. I don't know. I think it's always somebody recent. So I just did a show on Sunday, and I really like how I announced ABC. So Chris Bay and Ace Austin. So I think that right now at the moment that might be my favorite. It might change after like literally the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Let's see. Before the end of the year, I would like to.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think before the end of the year, I'd like to have at least some kind of talk with kind of a bigger company.
Okay. Okay.
That would be kind of cool. If it happens, it happens. It doesn't, it doesn't, you know.
Okay. The reason I don't have an OnlyFans like everyone else is because
I'm Lebanese. and my parents and my family would absolutely kill me.
Okay.
I don't think that's for me anyway. I don't want to like show too much, and that's like I said, that's very inappropriate in our culture, in my culture, I should say. And
Yeah.
myself, I don't like to show like way too much. Obviously, like if y'all follow my Instagram, but I don't show way too much, more than I need to. But if other people have it, I fully support. That's what you want to do, but it's just not for me personally.
I realize that you're the first person in a while. I'm like, I think she's the only one I've interviewed that doesn't have one. So I gotta at least,
poke. You can ask. I'm open about it.
Yeah. Favorite person to backstage interview?
Darius. Hands down, Darius Carter is just
okay. With the quickness, and I get it.
I'm always gonna say Darius just because how his character is, and he's on point. I love it because you never know what he's gonna throw at you.
And he's a one take monster. He is another level. He's another level. He is the only guy, and Big Kerr's gonna get mad if he hears this. He's the only guy. Chi-Town, you ain't leaving. Chi-Town, did you drink yet? I didn't drink yet. Oh, well, you can't leave if you didn't drink yet.
After all our BCW shows, that group has come together.
Yeah, well, I think I've told this story on the show before, and if I have, I apologize in advance. But we went out one night for AJ's birthday, and I was late because I had a show. It was a Friday, and like an hour or two later, Darius walks in, and for whatever reason, he sees me. We hug, and he goes, "Oh no, wait a minute! You're not gonna be here all night. I gotta say hi and bye right now." I said, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you don't hang out, right?" And I'm like, "Oh," I said, "Oh." So he inadvertently called me out. And even though I don't get as wild as I used to, the last three guys standing at the bar,
oh no,
AJ Pan, Darius Carter, Cheyenne Ortiz. And I don't want to say that I had all my faculties together, but the champion didn't. But I know that after that, he was like, "All right, I fucks with you, Cheyenne." He said it to me. Like, you're not staying here. You don't drink. I said, "What?" I said, "What time is it?" Yeah. So that's why now he's like, "Where are you going?" That's why he's like, "What do you mean? Did you drink yet? God. You didn't drink yet? You can't leave till you drink with me." Yeah. He is the way I used to be, and he's just better at it. He's just like everything else he does. That's my man. So I can totally see that being the pick. The pick is if he needs more ammo. That's as if he needs more credit for anything else he's good at. He's a hell of a drinker too. Yeah. I have to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for being on the program. Thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate it, and I mean all the words, because I think you've got as much a chance as anybody, maybe even more than some. And I hope it happens for you because you want it from a good place in your heart, and keep at it. So, I'm always rooting for you. I'm always here for you for whatever you need. And I'll see you when I see you, whenever that is, So that's it. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Thank you to Samira, backstage correspondent, broadcast extraordinaire, and the future of your television screens. Thank you. The following conversation has been scheduled for one fall. This is The Voice, Cheyenne Ortiz.